the UFC Vegas 37, aka UFC Fight Night, Smith versus Spann. Welcome to another UFC prediction and analysis video by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by the name of Zan, I go by the name of Harris. And as usual, we're giving you our fight by fight breakdown, fight by fight analysis, specifically from the betting perspective, letting you know which fights are worth the value, which fights you want to avoid, perhaps which underdog has the best shot at winning. And if you stick around to the end of the video, you may even get a little bit of parlay action as well. If you have not checked out our prelim video, please go ahead and do that. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, press the thumbs up on this video, hit that notification bell, and make sure you participate in the comments. Like we mentioned for this card, Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann, a very busy card, 15 fights. We just completed 9 of them on our prelim. Main card, a little bit more manageable with just 6 fights. So we are going to get right into fight number 1. We have Joaquin Buckley taking on Antônio Arroyo. And I will start with breaking down this fight. For Buckley, he lost to Alessio Di Chirico. That was back in January. That was a nasty head kick flash KO, of course, in that fight. So he's taken some time off and he's back. Southpaw on the feet, explosive striker, solid boxing, good constant pressure to his game, strong, shorter, stockier frame, still has that decent speed, pretty light on his feet as well, and good constant level changes with fakes and head and body movement as he makes his way inside and closes distance and really looks to be effective against his opponents. For Antônio Arroyo, on the other hand, kickboxing style, good combinations, willing to throw things like jumping knees and with his punches and kicks, keeps his opponents guessing on the feet with his sort of unorthodox style. Bad takedown defense. Obviously, we saw how in that Andre Muniz fight and the Duran Win fight, they were able to use ground games to their advantages. I don't necessarily think that'll be a factor in this fight, but that is definitely something to note. I'll keep my prediction short. Ultimately, I'm looking for Joaquin Buckley to bounce back from that head kick loss that he suffered in January. I think he's a lot better on the feet in this fight, and I think he has the opportunity to potentially hurt Arroyo coming in with that sort of Tyson-esque boxing style. So Joaquin Buckley is going to be my pick, minus 220. Not too mad at that either.
Yeah, this is a good fight, man. But I'm with you here. I think Buckley's going to win here. I think his boxing is going to be a big factor in this fight. Now, again, Arroyo has good kicks. Arroyo is a striker. He can strike. So I see this fight staying on the feet, but I think Buckley's quickness in the ring, like he moves around really well in and out. I think he's going to eventually connect. If not, I think he's going to win a decision here. So, yeah, Buckley's my pick as well.
Sounds good. Let's move on to fight number 2. In that case, we have Nate Maness taking on Tony Gravely. A very hard fight to call on this one. Nate Maness, he beat Luke Saunders back in November of last year. 3-fight win streak at this point. We see his record there at 13-1. He can fight in either stance, has that sort of boxing wrestling combination style to his game. In the stand-up, he uses his length and his reach. We see he's going to have a 5-inch height advantage, 3 inches in reach as well. Straight punches, long jab, good lead hook as well. Fights from distance and closes that distance off pretty well. He's a good counter puncher as well. Looks to use a good variety of strikes. Pretty good takedown defense, solid takedowns as well. Pretty effective on top. Good activity, some ground and pound, and he can definitely land that submission. With Tony Gravely, on the other hand, he beat Anthony Burchak in April. Looked pretty good in that fight. 2-fight win streak at that point. Kickboxer, wrestler type of style, decent all-around fighter. Pretty athletic, not bad in any one area. Very light on the feet, quick with the striking, good striking IQ, throws good technical, quick combinations as well. I mean, ultimately, I'll get right to the prediction part of it. This is a sneaky good fight on this card. I think this fight was supposed to happen back in April, but Nate Maness withdrew at that time. I have a feeling that both guys are going to want to show their ability on the feet in this fight. I talked about the physical advantages for Nate Maness already. I think that could play a factor if that's the case, that it does stay on the feet. I think Gravely maybe has the slightly better wrestling and is more likely to use the wrestling tools. That could definitely be a deciding factor in this fight as well. When this fight was first scheduled, Maness was my pick. Then I saw how well Gravely looked when he ended up beating Burchak on that card. it made analyzing this fight a lot harder, in my opinion. But my pick is going to stay the same. I am going to stay with Nate Maness on this one. I believe he is an underdog according to Bet365, although we don't see the odds there on ESPN. I think he'll use his length to his advantage. I think he has good takedown defense. And I think that Gravely can't ignore the takedown and the grappling ability of Maness on his own end. So close fight, tough fight. I can see it going either way. I'm not mad at anyone that's going to go with Tony Gravely on this one, but a bit of a gut check on my end to go with the underdog in Nate Maness.
Yeah, I'm going. I'll be quick. I'm going Tony Gravely, man. I don't think Maness can stop the takedowns. I think Gravely's be able to at least bang 2 rounds here, and if not, get a finish, win a decision, 29-28 type of fight. I see Maness doing well in the 3rd round because he does have a good tank. He does have good cardio. I don't see Gravely playing that striking that long. I think he's going to push him against the cage, get the takedown, get some top game, get some top control on him. I like Gravely here. I like Gravely. I like that wrestling advantage here that he has. So I'm going to go Gravely here to get this done, win a decision.
Not mad at that. Again, a ton of close fights on this card. So definitely can see that happening. Let's move on to fight number 3. Probably one of the easiest fights on this card. Maybe, if you feel that way. We have Arman Tsarukyan taking on Christos Giagos. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I like Arman really a lot. I like Arman a lot here. Good wrestler, good striker, good power. He gave Islam a really good fight. I think he might have gave Islam, aside from Islam's knockout loss, I think this was Islam's toughest fight in the UFC. Arman is at a high level in terms of skills, and Giagos, he's decent, but he's nowhere near Arman. Arman's better everywhere, so Arman is my pick here to get this done here. May go decision. Giagos is tough, but I expect Arman to win a clear win.
Yeah, and I'll keep this really short on my end as well. We see Arman Tsarukyan as the big favorite at -700. He's going to be my pick as well. I think Giagos definitely is game. He's tough. He's big. He has that grappling ability. He has that wrestling ability as well. But to your point, Arman Tsarukyan, just on another level. As you mentioned with the Islam fight, go ahead and watch that fight if you haven't done so already. Tsarukyan, in my opinion, is just the better, more complete fighter in every aspect, including Giagos' strengths, which is the grappling and the wrestling. So Arman Tsarukyan is going to be my pick. -700. I wish even -500. I wish it was, but -700 for good reason. I think he's probably the lock of the night, as the odds would indicate. So let's move on to fight number 4. Ariane Lipski taking on Mandy Bohm. How do you feel about this one?
I really like the newcomer. I really like Mandy Bohm in this spot. I'm not sure why. There's something about her when I'm watching her. Tells me UFC brought her in here to win. I think she's one of the couple fighters that are German, and they want another European star. And I see her in this fight she has good wrestling. She's good everywhere. She has good striking, decent striking for the division, decent wrestling, decent grappling. And I just think she's a tougher girl than Ariane Lipski. I think she's gonna be able to rough up Lipski. I think she's gonna have the size on Lipski as well. 7-0. She's coming in here with a lot of hype. And right now, I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go Mandy Bohm. There's something about it that tells me here she's gonna make this look good. So I think Mandy gets it done.
Mandy Bohm, we know, is the #1 ranked fighter out of Germany. As you mentioned, making her UFC debut. Good jab, decent calf kick as well. Pretty good long, diverse striker. Definitely going to make use of that 3-inch reach advantage that she has in this fight. A bit more of that sort of pick 'em apart, Nick Diaz, however you want to call it, type of striker, as opposed to, kind of overwhelming with pop and explosiveness. But looks to have a knowledgeable ground game as well. Ability to get up if she's taken down. Don't see Ariane Lipski taking her down anytime soon. So I don't see that being a factor. But to your point, Mandy Bohm also has a bit of a ground game of her own. Also has a solid tie clinch with some active knees. She does have K1 experience as well. So a pretty decorated athlete here and a very legitimate newcomer to the UFC. Ariane Lipski, we know that she's on a 2-fight losing streak after losing to Montana De La Rosa back in June. a striker, of course. We know that she has hands. We know that she has power. We know that she has crisp hands. We know that she can put combinations together. Her biggest Achilles heel has been, of course, her lack of takedown defense. We know that's been a big issue for her. We know that she doesn't do much on her back, and that's how fighters have beaten her. Um, Funny enough, although Mandy Bohm does have a ground game, I think Lipski finally is in the type of fight that she's looking for. I do think this fight stays on the feet unless Mandy Bohm just hits her up with super high IQ and takes her to the ground. Bohm is definitely a more diverse striker, whereas Lipski is the bigger striker. And based on my analysis, I want to go with Bohm as well. There is that back to back loss against for again back against the wall type of thing for Lipski. Still young. The UFC does like Lipski as well. She definitely needs this win. My gut kind of wants to go with Ariane Lipski, but to your point, I mean, I've been fooled by these striker only type of fighters one too many times. When you have that much of a disadvantage on the ground, and you're taking somebody, you're facing somebody, I should say, who has the ability to take you to the ground, then I can see that fighter doing that, especially an undefeated fighter who is going to be looking to protect her O, who is going to be looking to make a splash in the UFC as a newcomer, and who's taking on somebody who is a name in this flyweight division, so she can immediately get herself in kind of that contender space in Mandy Bohm. So, in a lot of ways, my gut pick says Lipski. I'm not surprised if Lipski wins this fight as a gut check, but based on my analysis, I have to go with Mandy Bohm. She is going to be my pick. And Mandy Bohm is actually the slight underdog at plus 100. So there are some decent odds there as well. Mandy Bohm is going to be my pick. Let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. We have Ion Cutelaba taking on Devin Clark. I'll keep this one pretty short as well. I think it's a bad matchup for Devin Clark. Cutelaba, I think he does have some ground game, although we know Devin Clark is going to have the advantage there. Meanwhile, I feel like Cutelaba has significantly better stand-up. Devin Clark, his last fight was back in November. He lost to Anthony Smith, who of course is headlining this card. We know he's a grappling, wrestling clinch type of specialist, but Anthony Smith was able to completely outperform him on the ground in that match. Inside low kicks in the clinch. He's pretty aggressive on the feet. He kind of bull rushes you in a way where he's very obviously trying to land that takedown or put you in a clinch situation. So in a lot of ways, he's a one-trick pony on the feet, and I don't think he's very diverse. With Ion Cutelaba, in some ways, I mean, even with him, he's kind of a knock you out or get knocked out type of fighter. He had a majority draw versus Dustin Jacoby in May. He's now winless in his last 3 fights. He comes forward, he walks you down. He'll throw a lot into his punches. He has that takedown ability, like I mentioned, and we saw that in the Khalil Roundtree fight. We look at his numbers there as well. They're actually better than Devin Clark's numbers at 3.7 takedowns per fight at almost 60% takedown accuracy. But for the most part, he does keep the fight on the feet. Big explosive striker. He can definitely land something explosive early in the fight. And again, like I said, should it go to the ground, he can choose to incorporate that ground game as well. So again, I feel like Cutelaba matches Clark in some ways with Clark's main advantage, which is going to the ground. And I feel like he is significantly better on the feet. So Ion Cutelaba is going to be my pick. And I feel pretty good about this one at minus 145.
Yeah, this is a tough fight for me though. When I look at these guys, Devin Clark, he can come out here, have the best performance of his career. This is the perfect opponent for it, where you can just go in there, get some double legs, take him down, win the rounds. Like he can go in there and win the rounds here against this guy. And Cutelaba, he's the type of guy, he lets his emotions get the best of him. It's a hard fight. It's really a hard fight here as far as who's going to win this fight here, because I think Cutelaba is the better fighter, but I just think that Devin Clark might be the smarter guy in the ring. But I'm going to go with Cutelaba here. I just think that the power when they're striking, I'm not sure Devin Clark can wrestle 3 rounds. That's going to be a big factor. And as long as they're standing up striking, I think Cutelaba definitely could knock him out. So I'm going to go Cutelaba here, the more durable guy. Keep this on the feet. But I think this is a really tough fight here to pick.
Not too mad at that. Let's move on to our main event of the evening. We have Anthony Smith taking on Ryan Spann. An interesting main event, to say the least. Anthony Smith, don't look now, but he is on a 2-fight win streak. He beat Jimmy Crute back in April, somehow keeping himself relevant. Some lateral movement around the octagon. He fights from distance, a lot of level changes, decent right hand down the middle as well. That usually comes after a jab. He'll use that jab pretty effectively, and we did see that in his last couple of fights, a stiff, long, accurate jab at that. But we know, of course, his specialty, grappling, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, doesn't really seem to prioritize getting off of his back when his opponent is on top. But that Devin Clark fight was very encouraging to see that he can still offensively get his opponents to the ground and still be very effective offensively with his ground game. Back to the feet, though, I don't think he has the best striking defense. That front leg stays exposed to the leg kick, and a lot of people have used it against him. For Ryan Spann, on the other hand, he beat Misha Serkinov back in March. Stand-up is decent, has a methodical pace to him, uses a very active jab in his own right. Not the most active striker otherwise. He does have some pop like we saw in that fight versus Johnny Walker. Also dropped Misha Serkinov in the first round of their fight before, of course, ending it via TKO. He is going to try to wrestle with you or at least clinch. Interesting to see how he goes up or what his game plan is against Anthony Smith, who, of course, is a specialist in that area. But good head position on the cage. You can keep you there with the clinch, with the underhooks. Not a takedown specialist per se, only 1.76 takedowns per fight. But again, that is something that he can refer to. Ultimately, I mean, this is a big fight for Spann, barely in the top 15 with a chance to beat somebody that's well within the top 10. Very tough fight to call. I mean, that Anthony Smith is going to have that grappling advantage, may even have a wrestling advantage as well. But Ryan Spann, I mean, he's big. Both of these guys are pretty tall for the division. Anthony Smith at 6'4", Ryan Spann at 6'5". Outside of that, physically strong, athletic. Will Smith be able to even get him down? Smith has acknowledged his strength, his physique, athleticism. So that is potentially something that he's worried about. Spann, I think, is better on the feet because he's a bit more of a punching threat. Otherwise, I don't think he's the most active on the feet, and I wouldn't say there's a huge advantage in that area. They had a bit of pre-fight beef. Spann was talking some smack. Anthony Smith was laughing it off. And I am seeing a lot of people pick Anthony Smith in this fight. However, my pick is actually going to be for Ryan Spann. That pick is going to be based on the fact that Ryan is the bigger fighter. Again, they're both big and tall for the division, but I think the athleticism will make a difference in this fight for Ryan Spann. I also think Ryan Spann has the potential to hurt Anthony Smith on the feet. Of course, as this fight goes on, it is a 5-rounder. You want to be very careful of the fight shifting in favor of Anthony Smith. However, if I'm just breaking down this fight as a fight, I'm slightly leaning in favor of Ryan Spann. So he's going to be my pick for this main event at plus 145.
Yeah, I'll make mine quick. I'm going Ryan Spann. I think Anthony Smith is almost out the door. I know he won his last fight, but his opponent got injured, right? And if you look at Ryan Spann's record, he has one loss since 2017 against Johnny Walker, a fight that he had Johnny Walker out. I don't know how Johnny Walker somehow won that fight. But regardless, he has that one loss that he should have won. And aside from that, he has no losses since 2017. This guy's on a roll. I think Anthony Smith is not as durable as Ryan Spann. I think Spann has that power. I think this is a good matchup for Ryan here. So I'm going to go Ryan Spann here to get this done. Wouldn't be surprised I see a knockout.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if I saw a knockout either. Let's take it to Vegas in that case. Considering the entire card or considering just the main card, however you want to look at it, why don't we talk about which underdogs we are considering?
Is Ryan Spann an underdog?
Ryan Spann is an underdog.
Yeah, I'm going Ryan Spann is my underdog pick of the card.
Sounds good. So I'm also looking at Ryan Spann as well. But in addition to that, I'm also looking at Nate Maness, however you want to pronounce the name. I think at the very least, that's a 50-50 fight. And at plus 162, Vegas rules would say Nate Maness has some good value there. In terms of some favorite picks, who are you looking at?
I like Joaquin, Buckley, Mandy, Bohm. I also like Montel Jackson and Aaron Blanchfield.
All right, so we have Aaron Blanchfield, we have Montel Jackson, we have Mandy Bohm, and we also have Joaquin Buckley. So that would be a 4-fight parlay at plus 358. $100 will return 458. For our bigger bettors, $250 will return $1,146. If I'm taking a look at probably my favorite picks for this card, I'm looking at Joaquin Buckley as well. I'm definitely considering young Cutelaba. I don't think Devin Clark has it. And I'm also looking at probably the lock of the night, which doesn't add too much value to your card, but can definitely juice up a parlay a bit in Arman Tsarukyan. At that point, 3 fights would be a plus 177. $100 will return 277. And for our bigger bettors, $250 will return 692. So let's sign off on that note as usual. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. We are Boxing MMA Picks. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, hit that notification bell, and most importantly, participate in the comments. Let us know how you feel about our picks and let us know what your picks are so that we can definitely provide some additional commentary on that. This has been the UFC Vegas 37, aka UFC Fight Night, Smith versus Spann main card prediction video. And in our usual fashion, let's get this money.
Let's get it.